Nick Simmons-Yocius. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I am very, very well. Thank you so much for asking. I'm excited to dive into our conversation. I trust that the listeners are going to get a lot of real talk today, so I'm looking forward to diving into that a little bit more. With that being said, can you give the listeners a bit of context about who you are, what it is that you do?
I'm Nick Simmons-Yocius. I grew up in Oklahoma. We moved from Texas to Oklahoma every single year. So it was like a very unstable childhood, if you'll say. Through that, at an early age, I learned to really rely on myself to really get things done, to really understand that through your actions is what's going to really dictate your life. And I joined the military when I was 24. I tried to join a lot earlier, but both of my older brothers were in. And at that time, I couldn't join. So I think I finally got in when I was 24. And then I spent 7 years in the infantry, got out. I went to contracting over the Middle East, security contracting. Then I jumped into IT contracting. And then now I'm a fitness and mindset coach.
Amazing. You've traveled quite a fair amount on your journey as well, by the sounds of it. So, coming back to your story of getting started in the military, you mentioned that you tried to get in a lot earlier. What stopped you from getting in earlier than 24? Because 24 still sounds quite young.
Well, yeah, I originally wanted to get in when I was 20. At that time, things were still going heavy in Iraq. My middle brother, Nathan, he was in the Marines, deployed over there. And my other brother, Johnson, was in the Navy, which was over in that area also. And they gave me the explanation that because I'm the last sibling, right? I'm the last of the three brothers. So all siblings can be serving in active duty at the same time, especially in a war zone. So that was the explanation they gave me. To truthfully get into the military, it was a whole different experience. So I was born with four fingers,
Oh, wow.
and I tried to get in. That's why it took me so many years. It took me 4 years and 8 months to get into the military. I originally wanted to go in the Marines, but they said I was missing a digit, that I couldn't get in. I went, then after that, I went to the Navy. Then I was trained up for go to Buds, because I have the mentality, if I want to do anything, I want to be the best at what I do. So I was going for Buds to become a SEAL. I was training for that. About 5 months into that, they called me and they said, nope, you can't go to Buds, you can't do combat diver. You'd pretty much be stuck on a ship. I'm like, okay, no, I'm not doing that. And it was literally my fourth Army station that I went to that I finally got into the military through a waiver. So that was a whole ordeal in itself, just getting into the military. But I knew that I wanted to be infantry. And then I also knew that I wanted to not only be ordinary or a regular soldier, I wanted to exceed and excel and then go to special forces and things like that.
Was there any point during those years where you were trying to get in and trying to get in time and time again, where you were thinking, maybe this isn't for me, maybe life's telling me that I need to take a different path?
I grew up Christian. So, I was like, maybe God doesn't want me to be in there. Or, a lot of the times after I would be so frustrated with the recruiters at these places that, yeah, truthfully, I was like, well, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be in there. But then it came into my mind of that, well, maybe all these rejections and all of these people telling me no is just a way to test me to see if I actually really want it. And I really wanted it. And therefore, I went through 4 years, 8 months trying to be able to get in. I finally got in.
And what was the experience like once you got in? Was it everything you expected it to be? Was it everything that you thought it would be or wouldn't be?
So, no, I truthfully thought we got to think from a big picture, because I got into the regular infantry. So it's a massive organization there. I thought there's going to be a lot more camaraderie, like a brotherhood, right? I really didn't get that from, now I'm speaking for the Army in general, from the Army itself. I think that's why I wanted to go to Special Forces, because it's more of it, small group, guys, that really get to know each other and depending on each other. Um, so that was one of the biggest like blows you could say to me, that there really wasn't that camaraderie that I thought there would be. And then also one of the things I really did like about the military though was it was based on your performance on how far you went. It wasn't based on other people's opinions of you or whatever. If you showed up and did the work every day and you understood what you needed to do and you got it done, then you would exceed, which I did. And that was one of the best things I really liked about the military was it was based off your work ethic, based off your hard work is how far you went.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really rewarding when you can see what you put in, you genuinely get a reward for as well. And the
Exactly.
responsibility solely lies on you, right? I think that's
Mhm.
huge and something that we can take a lot away from. And what brought your time in the military to an end?
It was a combination of things. So, like I said, I wanted to go to Special Forces. So in 2014, I went to SVS, which is Special Forces Assessment and Selection. And going into it, I really just wanted to, test myself, because you hear of like so many people going in and it has like was it a 70% attrition rate. So only 30%, actually make it through. It's always in the back of my mind, like, could I do that, And, and so I went into it with that mindset, and the mindset I had was like, it was more of, if I pass, if I go through this whole thing and I don't make it, okay. But if I do go through it and I make it, then okay. Of course, that's what I wanted. Of course, that's what I wanted it to be, Special Forces. I wanted to be the best of the best. And so I went through SVS and I completed it, but they have a thing to where you can be peered out. And I got peered out at the end. And so I was, they say, a non-select. So I went through the whole selection process, passed it. But then at the very end, you have to peer people. And through that peering people, it's like a computer. You set a computer and you go, this person did this, blah, blah, blah. And they can peer you out. And that's what happened. Because my class was 317 people and 276 of those people were 18 X-rays. And 18 X-rays is a contract that people come in and they go from infantry training, then they go straight from infantry training to airborne training, and they go straight from airborne training to SOP-C, which is they're at Camp McCall where SVS is held, and all they do is train up and eat. And so those people have been together for like 4 to 5 to 7 months. And so they're really, they're friends, you could say. And so at the end of the day, they chose their friends over, someone over me. I'll say that.
Got you. And how did you find that? Because like you said, the part of the military that you absolutely loved was that it wasn't based on anyone's opinion. It was all based on your work ethic and based on going through the selection process and being able to qualify for it. It must have been frustrating for you who relies solely on their work ethic to progress in that career, then to be turned around and basically said no off the back of people's choices.
It was super hard for me. Not only that, because I thought at that point in my life, I thought this was my purpose. I thought I was going to be special operations, going around the world, doing the things they do, helping people. I really thought that was my purpose in life. And that was one blow. But then there was another opportunity I had, which was to go to it's Delta Force. They call it CAG now. They may have another name, but when I was last in, it was called CAG, Combined Armed Group, which is the absolutely best of the best. And I went through their physical assessment and I passed. And I was like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where my purpose is. This is where I'm going to make, I'm going to make history. I'm going to set my legacy here. And that was the biggest blow that hit me because they got back to me. No, they didn't get back to me. I reached out to them about 2.5 months after I filled out, the whole background check and everything. And I was waiting to hear back from them because they have to select you to go to that selection. With SVS, you can just go to their selection. But the Delta Force or CAG, you have to be selected to go to their selection. So I was waiting, and so I called them, and they say, "Oh, well, if you're selected, you should have heard something within 2 weeks. And it's been 2.5 months." I was like, well, and so they got back to me and they said this was it. This was an identifying mark that they wouldn't allow me because I was just say, for instance, I'm on a mission in somewhere around the world, and someone knows I have 4 fingers, and I'm on a mission somewhere else around the world, and someone else knows I have 4 fingers, and that word gets out, and they see a 4-fingered person coming around, it's going to compromise not only myself but my team.
Damn, that's a big blow to take, right?
That was a huge blow. That was probably my lowest. That was probably my lowest point. Through that came a lot of depression, came a lot of questions, came a lot of. It was a very bad time in my life after that because I felt lost because I thought that was my purpose. I felt so lost after that. I've been working so hard towards it. And through that combination of things, it led to a suicide attempt. And yeah, it was super hard. It was super hard.
Yeah, man, I can imagine. And during those times where you were in that deep depression and off the back of that suicide attempt as well, how did you come out on the other side? I mean, you're at your very own rock bottom, and quite often people's rock bottoms and those attempts sometimes are unfortunately successful, and that's usually the end. How did you turn that around, stand back up, and how are we having this conversation today?
After I got the news of not being able to go to CAG, that was a blow. And then I had a close friend of mine commit suicide. That was a blow because it's hard. I was the last one. I was the last one on the phone with him. And I knew he had these thoughts. And I thought he was good. Sorry. Come to find out next morning, he had killed himself. Now on top of that, I lost my girlfriend. So it's just a combination of things. Well, I just didn't want to be alive. I didn't want to feel the pain. The pain I was feeling. So I locked myself in my barracks room. I tore up my vision board. They had all my gold on them. And I had a shit ton of pills. When I just downed them, I drank whiskey with it. The only thing that saved me was one of my teammates called me. This was like 1 o'clock in the morning, so I knew something was wrong. And I told them I would always be there for them. And so I picked up the phone, and at that time I was a fire team leader. It was one of my Joes. One of my soldiers had been in a car accident, had severely injured his head, and that they needed me at the hospital. And so, I, finger fucked my throat, threw all this shit up, and I went to be with him in the hospital because they couldn't get a hold of anyone else. And through that fucking experience, I came up with the saying, with a brand that has saved my life many times. And it's N2R. And it's the end of my Instagram tag. N2R. N2R stands for never to return. And never to return can mean so many things. At me, at that time, I think of a phoenix in the ashes, right? And I was in the ashes. I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to end this pain. And it could be so many things. Who would going through drug abuse? They could be alcoholics, wherever it is. Your situation, you're in the ashes. You're at the bottom of the bottom. And then you realize that you could come out of the ash, right? You realize that you are better than that. You are so much more, you have so much more to offer this world than to just stay in the ashes. And when you realize that, then you come out of the fucking ashes. This big, massive bird on fire for life. To better people's life. Because everything we go through is to help someone else that is going through that thing in their life at that point. I truly believe that. Everything I've gone through in my life is for me to be able to help people get through those situations. And when I was at my Joe's, at my soldier's side in the hospital for 12 hours, I had to stay there. I had a lot to think about. 12 hours earlier, I was ready to quit. I was ready to give it up. I was ready to just whatever. At that moment, looking at my soldier in that hospital bed, came to realize that I am here for a fucking reason. And that I was so selfish to want to kill myself because I've gone through situations. And then I realized that what I've gone through and I've overcame in my life so many things that I can help so many people around the world with what I know and what I've gone through and overcame.
Dude, that's powerful. And I love that you turn things around in such a unbelievable way, and such a like a complete 180, complete turnaround. And it's incredible because like I said, a lot of people don't find that strength to come back. Maybe they find the strength to come back, but they only have enough in them to just live a regular and a mediocre life. But you're going back, and you're not living in mediocrity whatsoever. You're doing everything that you can with all these lessons that you've been given to now help other people who are surely, and we know the world at the moment and the mental health challenges that people are facing, to allow people to get through that and to be on the other side of that as well. So thank you first and foremost for being vulnerable enough to share that story, because I think it's going to really, really help a lot of people. And there will be many people, maybe they'll be listening to this, maybe a friend will send it to them as well, who maybe feel very much how you felt at that stage, and will be able to recognize that, wow, Nick got through this, and maybe I can as well. So it's a powerful story. And now I'm very curious about what it looked like on the other side of that. You had that deep realization. You had those 12 hours in the hospital to contemplate what you were just thinking about. Where do you go next after that? This is part of the story that I think a lot of people miss. Sometimes you hear these stories about people who are at rock bottom, and then you see them in the future much, much better. But no one really talks about that in-between part, which I'm sure came with just as many challenges as it did progressions.
Yeah, it came with many challenges. So after that, 3 years later, I was out of the military. The reason I was out is because there's many reasons. The military's changing. At that time of my life, I thought I had done whatever I needed to do, whatever I accomplished in the military. And it was time for me to move on. And so when I got out, that was the next big challenge for me as an infantry person. Like, what can I do? I can be a security guard. I can maybe, it was not many choices. But the thing that is, anyone that's in the infantry, especially being a team leader, squad leader, then you realize you have so many attributes that you've gotten from the military. You have led people. If you're a team leader, you're leading a team of 4 people. If you're a squad leader, you're leading a team of 9 people, or 8 people, including yourself. So you have a lot of skills, because when I got out, I was like, I have no skills. What can I do? But then when you really sit and reflect on your time in the military and what you have accomplished and what you've gone through and what you have attained from the military and how you've grown as a man in the military, you really sit back and you realize that you have come far. Like, I went from a Joe to a team leader to a squad leader. That's big. Like, you're in charge of, at a squad leader level, you're in charge of 8 people. So just realizing the skills that I had, right? But when I first got out, it was super hard. Literally, I was living in my car for a year and a half after I got out of the military because truthfully, I was lost, you know? I knew I was here for more, yes. I knew I was going to do big things. I will do big things, yes. But at that point, it was just like, I don't know. I just don't know. I got out, was living in my car for a year and a half. This was in Alaska. So living in your car during the winter in Alaska is very, very hard. That was another challenge. I got a job, living in my car a year and a half. And the thing about this is that most people are not going to understand, and I really didn't understand, is I really came comfortable with that. I came comfortable with living in my freaking car. And at that point is when I knew I needed to change things. I had come complacent in my life. When I knew I had so much more to offer the world, I came complacent. And through complacency, anyone that's been deployed, complacency equals death. Overseas, where you're deployed, complacency equals death, like physical death. Complacency in your life equals death of your goals, of your dreams. And that's what I was doing. And when I realized that, I was like, I have to change something. And so that's when I got in contact with contractors overseas. I mean, because that's where I was good at, you know? So I got a job overseas contracting, security contracting. And then through that experience, I realized that I didn't want to do that. It was a lot of stuff that I didn't want to do. And then I got into IT. IT was a whole different world. But as you go through these experiences, you pick up skills. Like IT was a lot of customer service skills. And I was a contractor for the military, so I was dealing with military people. So through those skills, then I've always wanted to help people. And I've always helped people. Looking back on it, through the military, through contracting, I've always helped people. I've always taught them what they need to do, held them accountable, and they would get results. Like in the military, I was doing it unconsciously as a team leader, as a squad leader. I was helping my guys physically get into shape, to get better, to have goals in their lives, to go after those goals, to hold them accountable. And so it just led in. It was like a perfect match. I love fitness. Mindset is everything. I love mindset. So that's when I really realized, probably when I was IT contractor, I realized that I really wanted to pursue this. And that's why I started doing it.
That's incredible, man. And I think that you had to try all those different things. You had to search for all those different paths to find kind of your second purpose in a way, right? The military was the first purpose, or at least what you thought it was going to be. And then it's transitioning into this fitness and mindset thing. But before we do transition away from the military side of things, do you think that they could do better at transitioning people out of that system? Because it sounds like you were just left in a position to, it's ironic because you're serving your country, right? Which should be regarded as something very selfless, very, very commendable. Yet when you leave or when you're told to go, it's almost as if you're kind of just left to your own devices, regardless of where your mental or physical state is. I know that they potentially pay out if you have to retire early based on injuries that are experienced in the military, but it sounds like they could be doing more. Do you think that there is room for them to be doing better when it comes to people leaving that system?
I mean, there's always improvement. I'm not going to say that because the whole process is, I forgot what it's called now. It's I forgot what it's called. It has a different name now. But the whole process is like you have to go through a month of going to these classes before you get out. And I would say they do set you up pretty well. They make you write a resume. They make you reach out to companies to have job interviews. There's always a room for improvement for sure. I would say the biggest thing is, like you said, is the mental health aspect. Is they really don't take that into effect of like how much that controls people, and depends what people have been through, how bad they are. Because I had to see multiple behavioral health specialists when I was in the military, and getting out, trying to actually see someone like that is very, very hard for a VA. For the VA, they could definitely do a better job with that aspect. But the aspect of where they set you up to actually get a job, and because they do mock interviews and everything like that, I think they did pretty well. So it is. I'm not gonna say it's on the military for me living in my car doing what I did. That was on me. But I'll go back to something you said, is that people are like, what is my purpose in life? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Well, I think the number one thing that people need to do is get clarity on what they want in their life. This is a big thing. Get clarity on what you want in your life, exactly everything. The income you want to be making, where you want to be living, the body you want to have in specific detail. And when they get the clarity in life, and then they're like, okay, I have 5 doors in front of me. Which one do I go through? This is where you're right. This is where you got to say, I don't know. I'm going to go through number 1. Open that door. Go through that. Okay, that's not for me. Go through number 2. Okay, that's not for me. All right, go through number 3. Okay, that's not for me. They have to try so many opportunities. They have to try so many things before you actually find it, right? Because so many people are like, what is my purpose? And I've been there. I was frustrated. It was like, why am I here on this earth? Why? And through my experiences, that's why I've realized, is like, you need to have a clear picture. First, a clear picture of where you want your life to be like and where you want to go, what you want to do. Crystal clear. And then you just got to start grabbing opportunities as they come. Grab opportunities. Just grab them. Because you never know where that opportunity is going to lead to an opportunity down the road. And it's like they say, being here right now, you cannot connect the dots. But looking back at your past, that's when you can connect the dots to where you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of discovering what is for you is discovering what is not for you.
Exactly.
And that's the point that you were making there, in the sense of saying, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? It's like, well, it's probably not just going to come to you. Maybe it will come to you in an epiphany in a dream or something, but it's probably more likely to come to you if you go and try and like, well, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. And then you eventually find a thing that really is for you as well. But that comes from taking action and taking those opportunities, like you said, opening those doors so you can finally see, well, this does seem like it's for me. And like you said, you were able to connect those dots of the fitness and the mindset stuff, and that's where it's led you now. So let's transition onto that as well. What's your journey been like with focusing on fitness and mindset, and why have you put those two together as the big key? Because a lot of people are either focusing on maybe being mindset coaches and life coaches, and then others are going to be health and fitness coaches. I personally very much know, and I'm very familiar with the fact that those two are very much intertwined. But why is it that you were super keen to make sure that the fitness and the mindset stuff was put together?
Like you said, they go hand in hand. First comes your mindset, right? Your mindset has to be right. You have to have the right disciplines and the right habits in your life. And I think the best way to do that is through fitness, is through eating right, is through taking care of your body. Because a lot of people don't realize one of the biggest things people struggle with is belief in themselves, right? They don't have belief in themselves. But how do you get belief in yourself? Through putting actions in, through the work is the only way you get belief in yourself. I'll give you an example. When I was really young, I went into a gym and this dude was benching like 3 plates, like 315. I was like, oh my God, 3 plates. I was young. I was skinny little shit. Like I was young. I was like, man, 3 plates. I was like, I will never be able to get there. It was like so far out. But then what happened? I started going to the gym. I started benching. I started doing accessory works, right? My bench went from like 185 to 205. I was like, 205. Went to 205 to 225. I was like, you know what? 315. I could do 315. I'm going to do 315. But how did that? Because in the beginning, my belief was I couldn't do it. And that's what a lot of people think in their lives. They can't do it. They don't believe in themselves that they can do it. But through the work, through putting in the hours in the gym, through putting in the hours in your life of doing what you need to do, eating right, of going to the gym, of waking up early, of being disciplined, of building those habits, through that action, the belief comes. And that's one of the biggest things, and that is mindset, right? Belief in yourself is mindset. So through the belief in yourself, which comes from the actions you take every single day, that's when your mindset comes into effect, right? So mindset comes first, but I see that a lot of people don't believe in themselves. That's why I put fitness in there. Because if people do what is prescribed to them, like what's in my program or what I tell them to do, they see results. And what does that do? That helps them believe in themselves. Because fitness, the way you look, the way you hold yourself, the way you are able to perform in your daily life has a huge impact on your confidence. And your confidence goes into the belief for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge. And I think that it's all about building that bank of evidence. That's what I always talk about. It's like you've absolutely got to layer the work on the work on the work. And then you have no doubts, right? Like that's where self-confidence is built. It's by proving to yourself time and time again that you can. Like you said, you looked at that dude with the 3 plates, then it was 135 for you, up to 205, not too far off 2 plates. And then all of a sudden, and after stacking all of those moments that you were on the bench press, you gave yourself that belief. And realistically, at the very start, it was fair for you to say, well, maybe I couldn't do that because you had no evidence that you could bench 315, especially if you're like you said, a skinny little kid.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can have faith. And then you have to just follow up that faith and the goals that you have with actions. Then ultimately, that's what's going to lead you to the path of where you want to be. So yeah, I love that mindset piece as well. And I think a big aspect that you talk about a lot and a big aspect that ties into this in terms of making sure that people actually achieve the goals they want to is discipline. And that's something I want to talk about with you. It's like, yes, we can all have the idea of being able to bench 3 plates, to be in the shape of our lives, to get the job of our dreams or the relationship of our dreams. But that doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes, like I said, with work on work on work on work. So how can we get ourselves into a position where discipline becomes something that is just a part of our day-to-day life and that we are able to show up and do the hard things time and time again because we know what they can do for us?
So I think the biggest thing with this is people need to know their why, right? Like I have a guy he's extremely overweight. I walk with him 2 times a week. You know, I'm trying to get his mindset in the right place. And he's like, I just want to lose weight. I'm like, okay, well, why do you want to lose weight? Have you heard of the exercises 7 whys? You ask why, then you ask why. So he's like, I just want to lose weight. Okay, why do you want to lose weight? Oh, I want to lose weight so, I can look better. Okay, why do you want to look better? Well, I want to look better so I can have more energy and do more activities. Okay, so why do you want to have more energy and do more activities? And you ask us, this is a series. Anyone can do this. Just sit down with a pen and paper, write out your goal, and go, why do I want that goal? And then you ask 7 whys after that. But you have to be truthful with yourself. And at the end of this, with this gentleman I'm talking about, he came up to the conclusion that his why is that he wants to be there for his kids. He wants to be able to pick them up. He wants to be able to spend time with them. He wants to be able to be a role model for his kids. And this a lot of people fail that part nowadays to be a role model for your kids. He wants to have more, you know, spice it up with his wife. You know what I mean? So this was his why. But when we first asked the first why, it was, I just want to lose weight. But you need to know your why. And when you know your why, then that is going to push you to be disciplined. Discipline is something that is built over a long time. You're not going to build discipline in a couple of months. Like, people look at me and other people and they see the results we have and they go, oh, well, it's easy for you. And I cannot stand that. It's not easy for me. You think I want to go to the gym every single day and do what I do every single day? No. Do you think I want to wake up when I wake up every morning? No. Do you think I want to do my burpees every morning? No. But I do it anyways. That is the biggest difference. What is your why? When you know your why, you got that tunnel vision. You got your why right there. There should be nothing distracting you. You should know what you need to do. And you should do it. People have such a hard problem with taking the actions is because they look at the big picture, and I understand this, I've been there. They look at the massive picture of their life, the big vision, right? Big vision of their life. They're like, man, how am I supposed to get there? I'm so far away from it. There's no way in hell I can get there. What I say to those people and what I've told myself, and this helps a lot, do what you can do with what you have right now. And what you have right now is every single day is a choice to do what you need to do. Right? To do what you need to do to get where you are. When it comes to your big vision, you need to have milestones in between there. Milestones is going to allow you to have a smaller goal that keeps you on track to your bigger vision. But it's not too far from where you are right now to where you think that, oh, I can't take action. I don't know what to do. They're overthinking things. And the way I can speak of this is because this is me. Like I overthink things all the time. I look at my big vision like, how am I going to get there, right? It's through taking the daily actions, the compounding effect of through the daily actions you take with what you can do with what you have right now.
Yeah, I think that's a big mistake that a lot of us make, is that we look at the mountaintop too much, right? We have this big vision picture of where we want to be. But the challenge with that is that it's just so overwhelming when you look at it.
Yes.
And it's inspirational, of course it is. But like you were that skinny kid looking at the guy benching 3 plates, it's like, well, if you compare yourself to where you are at that moment to those 3 plates, well, you're never really going to get there. Well, you eventually will, but you're going to experience a lot of challenges along the way. The big thing I tell people is to have one eye on the present and then one eye on the future. So at the end of the day, it's those present actions, like you said, what you have to do on this day-to-day that adds up, that takes you eventually there. But if you focus too much on today, then you forget about the bigger picture. And then you maybe get lost in a dip of motivation. I know that your thoughts are on motivation we go through that in just a moment, but you don't have that drive because you're just so lost in like, well, what am I even working towards? Then you look up too much, then you're like getting lost in the overwhelm of the goal. So I love that point of just saying, okay, just focus on what you need to do today, because if that's really what's going to take you down the path of where you want to go. But don't forget to look up from time to time, because you want to know what you're working towards. And it's that why, it's like that guy said, is he wants to be a role model for his kids. And I love that exercise as well, because I get this with the clients that I work with all the time as well. It's like, you ask them the first, I want to improve my health. And I'm like, that's such a vague answer. Like, that isn't going to get you out of bed in the morning to get to your workout. That's not going to allow you to say no to that pizza. When you say that, well, actually, I want to be there for my grandchildren, I want to be able to walk my daughter down the aisle, those are the things that are going to get you out of bed in the morning. So I really love that point as well. And something that you mentioned in the part of what you were just talking about was, you don't want to get up every single morning. You don't want to do your burpees. And it's interesting because a lot of people say you need to learn to love the process. I've noticed that what you say is you need to learn to endure the process. So can you give us your take on that? Because I think that's a big point that we need to hammer home today. Because are you really ever going to love burpees at 4 a.m. in the morning? Probably not, but you probably can endure them. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that was a big thing is, well, you got to love the process. Love the process. Like, if you're being truthful, yeah, waking up when I wake up, no, I don't love it. Doing the burpees, no, I don't love it. Doing my workouts every single day, no, I don't love it. But it's enduring it to get to where you want to be. People think they have to find something that they love and that they can do every day, that they wake up and they have some energy to jump out of bed. No, that's not true. And it's not true. I'm sorry to bust your bubble if you believe that. It's not. You're going to wake up. You're not going to want to get out of bed. You're not going to want to do what you need to do. Goes back to discipline, right? Being disciplined enough to do the things you know you need to do when you need to do it. That is enduring the process. Like enduring eating, for me, enduring eating the same thing for the last 6 months. A lot of people can't do that, which I understand. That's enduring the process for me. Waking up at 2:40 in the morning every morning, that's enduring the process for me. Doing my burpees every single morning, it's enduring the process for me. It's about enduring the process. Now, some days, yes, you will be motivated to do the things you want to do. Like sometimes I'm motivated to do my burpees and I bust them out really quick. Some days I'm dragging my ass. I'm like, man, I don't want to do. And I'm like, I'm doing my burpees, but I do it. Every single day I do it. That's the thing. It's enduring the process. You're not going to love the process. Process of doing anything that is massive or extraordinary, you're not always going to love the process. So you have to endure the process.
Yeah, I think it's a much healthier relationship with that side of things, because I think when people talk about getting up at 4 in the morning and everything along those lines, it sounds like sunshine and rainbows, but I think it's time to burst that bubble a little bit and just tell people that you're going to do it because it's going to be amazing for you, but there's going to be many days where you don't love it. And I think that that's a better thing. I actually heard about some study some time ago. I think I think it was a weight loss process, but they also compared it to like a cold plunge. But when they told the person that this weight loss process is going to be difficult, you're going to come up against a lot of challenges, or the same with the ice bath. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be pretty damn cold. You're going to want to jump out straight away, but you're going to be okay. It is going to go with these challenges, but it's going to be rewarding. Versus not telling those people, they just get them to jump in the water. They reacted far worse when they weren't aware of the potential consequences that were going to come off the back of that. But when they knew it was going to be a little bit like there was going to be a lot of challenges, it was going to be pretty horrible to go to that ice bath, they mentally comprehended it way better. So I think a lot of people say, wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning because it's going to be the thing that changes your life and it's going to be the most beautiful thing you're ever going to do. It's like, well, it's going to be helpful, but it's probably not going to be fun on most days. And I think that that's the real kind of message that we need, is that these things are difficult for a reason. There's a reason why a lot of people don't do them. And the people who do them, doesn't mean they're waking up with a smile on their face every single morning, but they know what it represents to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes. And I want to talk about challenges for a bit, if you don't mind. A lot of people see challenges as they start whining, they start bitching, like, oh, why me? Why this? Why that? If you have a big vision of where you are or where you want to be, and you're down here, you cannot be the same person you are here to here. You can't do it. You have to be a totally different person. And the universe I believe the universe understands this. And when you say you want to be this person, when you're here, you're going to have challenges. The only way you can get to be that person up here where your big vision is through challenges, through growing. And the only way you grow is through challenges, through struggles in your life. That's where you learn about yourself. You learn your capabilities. You start to believe in yourself more. Challenges are not something that we need to look at as, oh, whoa, why me? Just bitch and moan. No, look at the challenge and really see why you're in that challenge. Why am I in this challenge in my life right now? And then think, okay, when I overcome this challenge, how better of a person, how stronger of a person I'm going to be? How much closer of that person I'm going to be to where I want to be? Challenges are not something that we need to be afraid of. Now, it's hard to think like this during the challenge. I understand that. It is hard. That's where self-awareness comes. You need to be self-aware of what you said you wanted. You wanted this big vision. You said you wanted it. Okay, we'll see. The universe is going to test you. You want that? All right. This is a challenge you're going to have. This is a challenge you're going to have. This is a challenge you're going to have. This is a challenge you're going to have to be this person. Because who you are right now and who you want to be are two separate, different people. Totally. And through challenges, that's how you become that person up here where your big vision is.
Yeah, I always think the same thing about when you spread a challenge across a long enough time frame, you start to see the reason why it was for you and not to you. In the sense of your story exactly, right? You were at rock bottom. You were at the point of almost ending your life, right? There couldn't be any lower of a point. But now when we stretch it out across the course of your life, of course we wouldn't have wanted that to happen, but all the benefits that people are going to gain based on your story and based on your experiences is actually going to make that a net positive, right? And it seems bizarre to say, and I never want to overlook, I should say, people's challenges and say that they're not real and that we should be grateful for them and everything along those lines. But we have to see a little bit of light during those moments. And on the other side of them, we probably can then be grateful. Again, like there's a concept in philosophy, there's a concept in Stoic philosophy called a more fati. You've probably heard of it before, which is like a lover of fate. And I think that it's a nice idea and it's a nice concept, but I don't expect you to be, I'm super grateful in the moment where my mental health is at its worst, I'm losing my job, I'm losing my girlfriend, etc. We're not expecting that. But it's more a sense of having that light, knowing what it's going to do for you, getting through it, and then seeing the bigger picture and the lens of the different perspective on the other side of it. I think that's the key to success versus saying, oh, well, any problem that comes or challenge that comes into your life, you should smile and just get on with it. It's not that. It's not the case. It's more just recognizing that it has a different purpose depending on the perspective that we look at it, right?
Yeah, it definitely has a purpose. And it's like I said before, you can't connect dots looking forward. So with the challenge you're going through right now, yeah, of course you're not going to be able to understand where it's going to get you. But what I say to that is look in your past life, look at the challenges you've had in your past life and connect the dots. Because you can connect those dots. You can see what those challenges and struggles you've had in your past, when you overcame them, how better of a person you are today from those challenges. So if someone's going through a challenge and they're having a bad time, look back at your past and connect the dots. Like I said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You don't know what this challenge is for you. But every challenge is there for a purpose, like you said.
Yeah, I love that. I want the listeners to take that away as well. And Nick, we are coming to the end, but I want to give more actionable takeaways to the audience today. Okay. So if I could wave my wand and make you president for the day and you're able to give every single person maybe like 5 rules to live their life by, what would those look like for you personally?
Get a morning routine. A morning routine needs to consist of getting up earlier, spending some time with yourself, whether it's meditation, journaling, whatever it may be, physical activity. Getting up earlier, it's going to build discipline. Doing physical activity will build discipline. Spending time with yourself and reflecting is going to get you to a positive mindset. So those 3 things is in the morning routine. But I would say in the morning routine for that, a lot of people don't understand this, is that you need to set up for your morning routine the night before, okay? The night before, set up everything. For me, for instance, I have my shoes, my water, my watch, everything right here by the couch. I have the fan pointed right to me. I have my journal right here. I have everything. So I get up and I just go through the process. Because if you don't have your shoes are way over there, you gotta walk over there, get your shoes. It's just all these excuses that you give yourself, right? So set yourself up for success the night before for a morning routine. Second, in the military, we have the AAR, which is the after action review. Okay. So after you do a live fire exercise, you do AAR with your commander and your first sergeant. And that's after action review. And from that, you need 3 sustains and 3 improves. And I took that from the military, implement in your life. At the end of each day, do it. I call it an ADR, after day review. And do sustains and do improves. So I'll do your improves first. What do I need to improve on? Oh, maybe I need to eat better. What do I need to improve on? Maybe I need to start waking up earlier. Wherever your improves are, write them down, at least 3. And after that, write sustains down. Sustains is going to be things that you did well, that you need to sustain in your life. ADR is so powerful, people do it. At the end of each day, you can do it at the end of each week even to get even better. But at the end of each day, do an ADR, 3 sustains and 3 improves. After that, I would say go into writing a list of 5 things you need to do that night after ADR. That night before the next day. And that list of 5 things you need to do is going to be for the next day. And through the ADR, that's going to give you oversight of the things you need to put on that the list of 5 things. That makes sense. So, yep, morning routine, ADR, and the 5 things.
I love that. I think it's super practical. And the thing is, it's not going to take an enormous amount of time either.
No.
And the brilliant thing, it doesn't cost anything either. Anyone who's listening to this today could start that tomorrow as well. So I love those. Really practical, very actionable, and very impactful, especially across a long time frame as well.
It will be, yes.
So Nick, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Yes. It's really, really been insightful. We've dived very, very deep as well. And I'm glad we've come out on the other side of this in a super, super impactful way. So I want to wrap up with the final couple of questions. The first one is, what impact do you want to have on the world with the work that you do?
Obviously, I want to have a positive impact on the world. I want to really let people understand the greatness they have inside them. As a coach, I don't want to be coaching a person for, say, years on years and years. No, I want to teach people how to coach themselves, right? I want to teach people and understand the greatness they have inside them, the purpose that they have, right? Because each person has this potential. Every single person has potential in this life. It's just what we do with that potential, okay? So I want to show people they have potential and the greatness they have inside them.
I love that, man. And where is the best place for people to find you if they want to keep up with the work that you're doing?
It's going to be IG. It's going to be Fit Nick. That's NIC _N2R.
Perfect, man. I'll make sure that's in the show notes below. And anyone who's listened today who's taken anything away, I'd encourage you to share this with your friends, family members, anyone who you think will need it. But Nick, thank you so much for your time today, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.